kind of a fretless lute. And also the basses are all.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Oh, and
Very
it's
light
light.
instruments compared to Zore's.
It's light.
Yeah.
And the strings are nylon. Or original strings would have been gut strings.
Wow.
So that's what we call the kobza.
And how many strings are there?
I don't know. Maybe like 25 or so. The strings on here are basses. So it's like a fretless bass. It's also light, a little bit heavier.
Okay.
But more strings.
Now this is the traditional bandura?
Traditional bandura.
Okay, the traditional.
But actually this would have been a traditional bandura before that instrument existed.
This one was first?
So this would have been until 1850. This would have been 1850 until 1930. And then 1930 until present would have been what Zore has. Zore's model is probably like 1950. So they're all. I do glissandos, but not strumming.
Okay, so it's all plucking.
Could have
here.
strummed, but it's usually.
Yeah.
We don't have instruments on these instruments. There was a strummed instrument called the husli, or
Husli.
gusli. Russians had it too.
Okay.
But here we play basically plucking with the right hand and the left hand. Sometimes you can fret, but usually they didn't.
Okay.
So with the right hand you'll play like this. These on these strings, sometimes on these strings. So a lot of different kind of
So many different
technique.
variations. Of,
different techniques.
Yes.
Different styles, I guess.
Different. Wow. And these were created in Ukraine.
Only Ukraine has these. Only Ukraine. In Russia, you'd have the husli. In the West, you'd have a psalter or a zither, maybe.
Yeah.
But this is the Ukrainian lute, basically, lute harp, which actually most Ukrainians don't know. If I asked this lady here, do you know this instrument? She probably wouldn't know.
Wow.
And this is the national instrument of Ukraine. Now, Zore's instrument should say, oh, that's a bandura. Because they know the modern instrument.
That's the modern version of these old instruments.
But the reason is that the Soviets did not allow these instruments to exist. They allowed the modern bandura, which you can't play traditional repertoire. It's a whole Stalinist plot, basically. I mean, they've screwed with the culture so much that they decided this was too potent, too potential.
That doesn't even make sense. It's music.
It's because it's spiritual music. They said, okay, the spiritual music we have to repress. Everything else, let's make some modern stuff. You know, it won't be so politically or spiritually charged.
The propaganda runs deep in Russian country, doesn't
300
it?
years. This is what we're seeing now is 300 years, after 300 years, finally getting an independent nation. That's why Russia is going nuts. Because they're used to having Ukraine for 300 years. It's like for them, it's a tradition, right? And now you free Ukraine, and we get freer and freer over these 30 years. So now they're like, we can't work behind the scenes and control Ukraine. We're losing Ukraine. So we're just gonna have to go out and just kill them all, right? So either we're under Russian control, as we've been for 30 years, or they kill us all. Not a very good deal. It's also like a bandura, but also a baroque lute.
Oh.
And it's not a folk instrument. It's
I got chills.
It's hard to play with cold fingers, but you can play Bach. You can play, elite type music, classical music. But it was made for more, how do I say, difficult music. Not 3 chords. And there are transcriptions for Bach for the baroque lute, and they can be played on the torban too. So
And this is called
Ukrainian instrument, the torban.
Torban.
Ukrainian torban. Another instrument which no Ukrainians know. I could ask all these people; they would have no idea what this is. They say, "Oh, it's some kind of strange guitar." This is the third national instrument: the kobza, the bandura, and the torban.
Now, what did you know about this in the States?
Yes, my uncle told me about the torban. In a library in East Carolina University, I found pictures of the kobza, the bandura. It's in libraries, but here they erased the knowledge, all knowledge of this. This instrument would have existed, 18th century, between the 18th and 20th centuries.
I need to take a picture.
But today, nobody knows what is this.
This is.
I call it the atomic torban. I say that Putin has weapons of
Atomic?
mass destruction, and we have atomic torbans.
Correct.
Say, yes, that's true.
Hold on, I need a picture of this, please.
But it's also, a document that Ukraine is not Russia. Russia doesn't know these either. They didn't have these. Russia worked against to where these things would exist, to where we would seem more similar to Russia, right? Get everybody to play the accordion or the balalaika or the domra, you know, whatever that is. It's kind of a new type of instrument which never existed. But the unique folklore and folk players and instruments, they tried to completely suppress that, especially these. Because the kobzars were spiritual singers.
Powerful.
And for them, Ukrainian spirituality, that was the worst for them. Just like now, and we see Ukrainian spirituality. Why are we winning? Because our boys are spiritually motivated. They're fighting for the right thing. They're defending their homes, their country, their family. They're not making money. They're not trying to take over somewhere. So it's like black and white. This is really a holy war for us.
You know what? You know what? I've never heard it called like that. But now that you explain all of this, and
for us, yes.
The way that Russia has tried to eliminate all of this because of what it represents and the essence of it, I get it.
And people asking, why would you want to, kill like everybody? There has to be like a massive hate there.
Yeah.
But the question is, well, maybe Ukrainians hate them. Maybe it's like a mutual thing. It's not.
Wow.
That's the strange thing.
Wow.
Ukrainians, before the war, love Russia.
Of course. Yeah.
They love their music. They listen to the language. Not everybody, but most people.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. It's Russian. It's fine. We're used to it. They speak it. They're used to it. It's not a big deal.
It's not. No.
So why is Russia killing us? Because it's a very strange relationship. One thing is historically, we were Russia.
Yes.
That's one thing. Rus was Russia, Kiev Rus. But they came in and they falsified. It's what they call a fake.
Yeah.
They said, no. You were, just some tribe down there. Moscow became the inheritor of the Rus tradition. We became Russia. They didn't inherit our tradition. They killed us then and took our history. They needed history. So they said, okay, we'll take this empire which existed before us, the Kiev Rus, and we'll think up some fake that everybody migrated north. It didn't happen that way. They just took the history, took the name, took the culture, the history, took the smart Ukrainians, took them to Moscow.
Wow.
It's a history of, hating Ukraine really, but exploiting Ukraine. So now they can't exploit us. Now that hate really comes out.
Yeah.
Because without Ukraine, this is the Russian philosophy. There is no Russia without Ukraine. Somehow their exploitation of Ukraine is a part of their deep, historic philosophy.
Yeah.
So without Ukraine, that's what we're having this reaction. Just kill them all, take their land. It's very strange. The world doesn't understand it.
It's deep.
I don't really understand
it.
It
goes
deeper.
deeper.
Very deep.
It goes
This
deeper.
is 1,000 years history.
Yes.
And we've never had this situation where Ukraine has been completely free for Russia. Well, 300 years at least.
Yeah.
So now that they're going nuts, they don't know what to do. And it looks like, this is the strange thing, everything they do to kill us and destroy us destroys their own empire. It makes us stronger.
Right.
That's what's really happening.
No. I was going to say the same thing. It makes us stronger. And then this is really beautiful what you're doing.
It's very strange why that is, but there's something, it's a very spiritual thing. What we're trying to protect in Ukraine, if we were really just little Russians, we'd say, okay, just take Ukraine, we'll become Russians, whatever, go to the West. We're preserving, freedom. And we Ukrainians know what Russia really is, what it really represents from the history. So we're basically preserving the goodness that we have in this land and don't want the evil empire to take over again. So these are spiritual elements. And that's why I think God is with us and God supports us. And they can't take us with all this huge Goliath army.
I've said the same thing.